morning. Today class we shall discuss about optical network transmission modes. So in this particular optical network transmission modes, the layers and protocols we are going to discuss here. Okay, so although the optical fiber networks imply an entirely optical framework, there are some places where you can see that the combination of electronic infrastructure with optical infrastructure should be there. Okay, so why? Because we cannot say that purely. Okay, so we can go for the optical only. Why? Because it is a complicated process. So the optical infrastructure present in such network constitutes a transparent optical network utilizing optical signal transmission where electronic devices can be used for signal control. Okay, so here majorly when you are using this particular optical network and optical components as well as electrical components, so one thing you must understand. What is the one thing you must understand is very simple. Okay, so what is that particular simple is when any signal processing is there, we are going for electronic devices. So when we are going for transmission purpose, we are going for optical networks. Okay, that is how it is. The combination is been made. So therefore, practical scenario dictates the use of combination of optical and electronic domains. So here where the different devices are required to communicate with each other in order to establish a connection. So here for transmission between different segments of optical fiber network, the endpoints of the optical network usually comprises the network nodes and the network stations. So here then when we're talking about the nodes, nodes will connect the fibers within the optical network, while stations connects the optical network to the non-optical systems in the electronic domain. Okay, so your nodes means they will connect the only the what you call for that fibers which are in the optical network. But when you're talking about the stations may connect the non-optical systems that are in the electronic domain also. So the nodes also provide functions that control the optical signals, so whereas stations provide the terminating points for the optical signal. So here when you're talking about the stations and nodes, these comprises of optoelectronic and photonic components. For example, when you're talking about the lasers, photodetectors, couplers, okay, splitters, switches, amplifiers, regenerators, wavelength converters, etc. So all these components are the optoelectronic devices. Okay, they will be using the electricity also, and they will be using the optical signal also. So in order to establish a useful communication among the different network elements for the same or other network, it is necessary to employ certain physical network structures. So here what are the physical network structures? Transmission types, rules and protocols which make networking implementation more straightforward and also allow the optical network to be upgraded with new developments and to follow the improved service trends. So when I'm talking about the synchronous networks, okay, so here the pre-existing multi-channel PCM transmission hierarchies for the telecommunication networks that are in the Europe and North America. See, basically when the optical domain came into existence, so most of the developments were there in the European countries and the North American countries. So after that Japan came into a picture. So later China, India, all those we have taken the optical systems. So they provided the one table. Okay, so how the particular time division multiplexing strategy is going to work. So this is the synchronous network table. So here you can see that the table name they have given that digital bit rates for multi-channel PCM transmission that are in Europe, North America and Japan. For reference, okay, initially. So hierarchy, first level, second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level, they have taken in the column wise. So here telephone channels, okay, telephone channel, how many number of telephone channels were there? So you can see that, okay. So in the first level 24 to 30, in the intermediate level it is 48, 96, 120, 480 like that. So in the third level, it is from 480 to 1920. So in the fourth level, it will be 4032 to 5760. So in the fifth level, it is up to 7680. Okay. So that means what, that much telephone channels they have been used. So what is the bitrate improvement? Bitrate improvement from the first level to the fifth level, you can see that. So bitrate improvement, that is 1.544 megabits per second. Okay, that from that particular level, today it is 565.148. That is the fifth level. The improvement has been happened. Okay. So in the European countries, that level 1 is what, T1, DS1 we say, T1C, DS1C, T2, T3, T4, T5. That means what, level 1, level 2 like that. They have made T1, T2, T2, T3, T4, T5. So maybe in the first level to second level, intermediate level also comes into existence. So for every level, third level means what, not only one level. So one third level 3.01 like that, one intermediate level also may come into existence. So that is in the European countries. When we are talking about North America, you can see that E1, E2, E3, E4, E5 that are they are using that particular strategy. Whereas in Japan, it is like the J1, J1C, J2, J3, okay, J3C and J4. Up to J4 they have taken, and J5 they have not gone into picture. So here, when you're talking about in European countries, what is the T stands for? T stands for trunk. Okay. So DS stands for digital signal. Okay. So C stands for carrier. Okay. So here, that is what exactly the things we need to consider into picture. So when talking about synchronous network, although this strategy is well suited for the transport of bits, it suffer a major drawback in that in order to multiplex the different levels. So in order to multiplex a different level, that is 2 to 8 to 2 to 8, 8 to 34 and 34 to 140 megabits per second. So your extra bits need to be inserted. That is called as what, bit stuffing. So when talking about okay. So when you're talking about this particular thing, what do you call for that extra bits, that particular inserting of extra bits is called as what, a bit stuffing. Okay, that is what exactly the meaning of bit stuffing, adding an extra bit. So at each intermediate level, so as to maintain the plecysynchronous operation. So the presence of a bit stuffing in the existing plecysynchronous digital hierarchy, that is PDH, makes it virtually impossible to identify and extract an individual channel. So these are the features of this particular thing we have given here. Okay. So this particular process is both complex and uneconomic. So when you are going for this particular process of adding the signals and all, so this particular process is complex as well as uneconomic. Uneconomic means what? It is a cost is also more. That is what exactly the meaning. Okay. So here, particularly when considering the future telecommunication networking requirements such as a drop and insert while where individual channels are extracted or inserted at the points. So you can see that particular synchronous network. So here you can see that how that particular European multiplexing hierarchy has been made. So here existing the first figure. Okay, the first figure here represents the existing plecysynchronous structure, and the second figure indicates the synchronous multiplexing. So when you're talking about the first figure, it is, you can see that it is uneconomic and it is a complex things are there. So more number of components, more number of things are being used. Okay. But what exactly happens when we are talking about in the synchronous multiplexing? The simple structure is simple, and when the structure itself is simple, obviously it should be economical. So that is what exactly has been explained here. So in the synchronous network, so you can see that level of SONET signal hierarchy. So when you're talking about the level of SONET signal hierarchy, you can see that OC1, okay, so OC1 optical channel like that. So STS1, okay, STS3, STS9, 12, 18, 36, 48, 192, 768. So this is this table, need not to worry about it, okay, need not to remember also. Okay, so just explanation part of it. So now here STS1 frame structure we need to understand, we need to remember this one, okay. So you can see that STS1 frame structure, okay. So STS synchronous transmission system. So here you can see that STS1 frame structure. So here you can see that how many number of rows, that is 9 rows will be there. So how many number of columns, okay, this column size means what, 90 bytes, okay, that is the one of the size. So 3 bytes will be used for section and line overhead, okay, and remaining 87 bytes, okay, so will be used for STS1 envelope capacity. That means what, whatever the data we are going to feed in that particular 87 bytes, we can able to make use of that particular thing. So you can see that 90 bytes in the row wise, 9 rows is in the represented in the column. So section and line overhead, okay. So here note to note you can make it, the B represents an 8-bit byte. 8-bit byte. B represents 8-bit byte. Okay. So here byte means what? 8 bits. That's all. Okay. So here STS1. Okay. So when you're talking about STS1 structure, it is a single cell. Okay, single one particular structure. If you take, this is the diagram. So when you're talking about STS-N frame structure, that means what, N number of frames are there. So obviously what exactly happens is, so the same structure multiplied by N, that's all. So same structure multiplied by N. So here also for every structure you can see that 3 bytes of section and line overhead will be there, and 87 into N. Okay, so the same thing, okay, N into 90 bytes full size will be there. So among that one, 87 bytes will be used for signal envelope capacity. So in that 87 into 90 will come into picture. Okay, nice. 87 into N will come into picture. Okay, so you can see that the first 3 bytes in each row of STS1 frame structure so contain the transport overhead bytes, leaving the remaining 783 bytes to be designated as synchronous payload envelope. Synchronous payload envelope. Okay, so yeah, that is what exactly the thing. Apart from the first column, the 9 bytes which is used for the path overhead, the remaining 774 bytes in the SPE, that is synchronous payload envelope, constitute the SONET data payload. So all those things are the what you call for the technical specification. You can able to go through it. Okay. So now we are synchronous network. When you're talking about the corresponding levels and bit rates for SDH and SONET when you're comparing. Okay. Synchronous digital hierarchies. SDH means what? Synchronous digital hierarchy. So now that particular thing you can see that SDH level, so STM1, STM4, 16, 64, 256, like that it is going. So when you're talking about SONET level, it is OC3, 12, 48, 196, 768. So what is the line or bit line rate? It means what data rate? It is 155.520 megabits per second. So in that synchronous, they are given the division. Okay, they are given the what you call for that separation. Okay, how it comes to picture. So you can see that synchronous payload envelope. It means what data. So here 150 out of 155.520, we are using the 150.3366. The remaining will be 5.184. That will be used for 5.184 will be used for transport overhead. So as I told you, that 3 bytes will be used for the overhead. No? So there you can be able to use this particular thing. Similarly, for all the things you can able to see that one and you can make a note of it. So next, after synchronous transmission mode, we can go for a synchronous transfer mode. So when you're talking about the synchronous transfer mode, that is ATM. Okay, don't think that ATM means what you call for that automated teller machine. So asynchronous transfer mode, it is the nothing but ATM. So it is a packetized multiplexing and switching technique which seeks to combine the benefits of packet switching and circuit switching. So here asynchronous transfer mode transfers information in fixed size units called cells. So where each cell contains the information identifying the source of the transmission, but generally contains less data than the packets. So unlike the fixed time division multiplexing technique, where each user waits to send in an allocated time slot, that is ATM is asynchronous, and therefore the time slots are made available on demand. So to enable the correct segmentation and assembly of different cells at the destination, each cell contains significant information in addition to the data. So you can see the diagram. So where the format of asynchronous transfer mode cell. So here 5 bytes of header will be there and 48 bytes of payload is been taken into consideration. So an ATM cell comprises of a header and a payload which is shown in the diagram below. It contains 48. Okay, so here it contains 48 bytes of data with 5 bytes of header information. So here each single byte in the header field includes different information to the identify destination. So here in the header, what are the information will be there? So identify information regarding identifying the destination, path, channel, and the error control bits. So before sending ATM cells carrying user data, a virtual connection between the source and destination has to be established. So here all connections follow the same path within the network. So here during the connection setup, each control bit, that is 1 or 0, generates an entry in a virtual path identifier. So your translation table to inform the destination to receive the incoming packet has been given here. So we can see that one. Okay. So here after that one, we can go for that open system interconnection reference model, that is OSI. So this particular model, people are very much aware of it. Okay. So as I know that, okay. So you people are studied in the computer communication networks. Okay. So we have studied the open systems interconnection, that is OSI model we have studied. So that particular study, okay. So once we studied that particular concept, no. So we can understand that there are 7 layers. What are the 7 layers? Physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session, presentation, and application. So all these layers will be present. So when all these layers are present, okay, then we have taken the function of each layer. What is the function of each layer? Network process in the application layer. So here network process to application, that is been given here. And when you're talking about the presentation, that is data representation and encryption is going to happen. So when you're talking about the session, it is inter-host communication. So when you're talking about the transport layer, it is end-to-end connections and reliability. So after that, in the network layer, we can see that path determination and logical addressing. Then the data link layer, it is a physical addressing layer. So in the physical layer, it is media, signal, and binary transmission will happen. So all these things have been discussed. Okay. So when you are talking about the data unit, you can see that the level, the layers 5, 6, 7 are nothing but the data. Okay. Those are using the data. Okay, so the major concern is what about the data. So when I'm talking about the 4th layer, it is regarding the segments. That means what transport layer, we were sending the data in the form of segments. When you're talking about the network, it is something like a packets. Okay, so it is nothing but the packets. So when you're talking about the data link, it is like nothing but the frames. So how the particular physical addressing has been made with respect to the frames and all we will be discussing. So in the physical, it is something like a bits. It is representing the bits, that means for data. So how many bits of data we have to take and all. So after that, okay, so we are going for making them as a frame. And once we make the frames, we are going for the packets. So packets will become the segments, and segments will transfer over the different devices. So now we are talking about this particular thing. Okay, so layer number 1, 2, 3 are called as what media layers, and layer number 4, 5, 6, 7 are called as what host layers. Okay, so here the same applications, what you call for that explanation for all these things have been given here. So next topic we will go for that as optical transport network, that is OTN. Okay, OTN stands for what? Optical transport network, OTN. So when you're talking about the optical network transport, what do you call that optical transport network? So this is regarded as a set as a facility. Okay, so using optical fiber interconnections to carry the data between the network elements that switch or route the data from different customers to the network. So your optical transport network is regarded as a set of facility using the optical fiber interconnections to carry out the data between network elements that switch or route the data from different customers into the network. So here it is specified in ITU recommendation. Okay, so some international telecommunication union. So they recommended. Okay, so one particular meeting will be holding on, and they will be giving some standard sets. So it provides for the transport, multiplexing, routing, supervision, and survivability for client signals. So OTN has been proposed as a successor to SDH, SONET, so which is the current standard for voice and data traffic in the public switched telecommunication network. So NSET combines the benefits of SDH, SONET with DWDM technology, WDM or DWDM technology. So you can see that optical transport network, the diagram, you can see that optical channel. So optical channel is being represented as OCH. Optical channel transport unit, that is OTU. Optical channel data unit, that is ODU. And optical channel payload unit is OPU. So here I can remember like this. O stands for optical, CS stands for channel, OTU stands for transport unit, DU stands for data unit, and PU stands for payload unit. Okay. So this is the hierarchy. Okay, this is the hierarchy. So payload, data, transport, and channel. So here OTN hierarchy to support these 4 layers may also include the 3 sections as indicated in the figure below. So which are the optical transmission section. Okay, optical transmission section means what? OTS. Optical multiplexing section means what? OMS. And optical physical section means what? OPS. That means what here? Transmission section means TS. Okay, so multiplexing section means what? TMS. Like that, you need to remember the names. And these sections are further divided into a number of subsections. Okay, so the layers and sections in an OTN provides a confluence of inter and intra-domain interfaces, enabling optical signals transmission to reach from one end to another by using the electronic or optoelectronic or all optical interfaces. So you can see that this particular network, okay, so signal to reach one source to another source, another destination. So we may use that electronic devices only purely, or else we can use for all pure optical devices. But so we recommend, okay, so it is a good idea that all of us can do like optoelectronic devices. So this is the functional block diagram of OTN with the different layers. So as I told you, what is the meaning of OTN? So what is the meaning of OTS? What is the meaning of OMS, OCH, OTU and all? Okay. So the layers, how they have been configured. So that particular diagram you can able to see here. So here I can see that the what do you call for that some of the shapes are included. Okay, so something like a triangle shape, square shape, hexagonal shape are being included. So what is that particular shapes indicating? So here I can see that in the bottom here written that optical line amplifier, that is OTS termination. So for that particular triangle shape, so like a multiplexing something is there. So here optical cross connect or add or drop terminal MUX, that is OMS termination, that is been given here. Okay, so that is the one of the structure. So when you're talking about the square, it is the 3R generation, OCH and OTU termination. And when you're talking about the hexagonal, it is a client access, that is ODU termination. So you can see that in the diagram, the top layer, so you can see that OTN, that is inter-domain interfaces. When talking about inter-domain interfaces, so in the initially optical subnetwork will be there. So all optical subnetworks are being connected. Okay. So when you're talking about in the optical subnetwork, okay, so it is called about intra-domain. So within the network. So when you're talking about one domain, one network to another network, it is called as what? Inter-domain. It is called as what? Inter-domain. So one particular what I call for that one particular optical subnetwork if you take. So what are the things will be there? So what are the things will be there? OTU will be there, optical terminate transport unit. So OCH will be there, optical channel will be there, optical OMS, that is the optical multiplexing subunit will be there, OTS will be there. So this is a common OTU, OCH, OMS and OTS are common. So in any optical subnetwork, but when you are talking about one network to another, that is in OTN connection. So we are using the OPS, OCHR, OTU, ODU. So you can see the slight difference of connection, how we are going to connect it. Okay, that is what exactly the thing here. Okay, so that's how the function block diagram of your OTN layers we are going to understand. Okay, so you can see that in the left hand side there are two optical subnetworks which are connected. So, but they are in the same domain. That is called what intra-domain. One domain we can consider. So here in the second, in the right hand side, you can see that only one particular layer is, that is only one optical subnetwork is. Among the optical subnetworks, so between one point to another point, there is a OTS is been included, but OMS is required. So when you are using the what you call that optical cross current. So if you don't win one for every one particular thing, so one OTU is enough and one OCH is enough. That is what exactly the meaning. The same thing what I did, what I explained. So here the explanation has been given. So you can go through it. Okay. So next we can go for the internet protocol. So what is this particular internet protocol? Internet protocol is a network layer. Okay, so that is layer 3 protocol in the OSI model. So here that contains the both addressing and control information to enable the packets. So in the enable the packets means what? Enable the datagrams and to be routed within the network. So your internet can be characterized as a logical architecture. So we're talking about logical architecture, it is independent of any particular network. So which can permit multiple different networks to be interconnected, enabling each network node to communicate without the need to know which network it is using or how the route information between them. Okay, so see when we are using the internet, so on our mobile phones, okay, so we will not be knowing that from which network we are going to get the signal, correct? And how the signals are been traveling from one place to another, that all those things we don't even remember. Okay, so we don't even look into it. So that is the functionality of your internet protocol. Okay, so internet protocol should not tell us that, okay, which routing, how the routing is been happening and all. So it is just, its duty is to just do the work. That's all. So we can see that internet protocol for the optical network. So how that particular thing will be there. So we can able to see that particular diagram. Okay. So here TCP, UDP, that is a transport layer. We are going to use that transmission control protocol, that is TCP. UDP means what? User datagram protocol, that is UDP. TCP and UDP can able to see that work. So here IP, that means what? Network layer. So it is internet protocol where the network layer is been allocated. So in the below the network layer there is a data link layer, that is link layer we say. So your network access is been the major point in that particular thing. So here you can see that virtual connection is established between the nodes requiring communication when IP is combined with the specific higher level protocols such as transmission control protocol as well as UDP, that is user datagram protocol. So after that you can see that for this role TCP IP is preferred. Okay, so since UDP does not guarantee the reliable delivery of data in comparison with TCP IP, so which generally encapsulate data from the link layer protocols such as Ethernet. So that is why when we are talking about the internet protocol and all, so we for the optical network we are talking about, so we generally use the TCP/IP protocol. So it is having some of the advantages compared to the what you call for that UDP/IP layer. So the IP provides, so that is internet protocol provides. So in this particular IP, that is IP protocol, which are both functions for signals. So here signaling protocols which are including that multi-protocol label switching, that is MPLS, and generalized multi-protocol, that is GMPLS. See, these are the signaling protocols names. Okay, MPLS, GMPLS, OSPF. Okay, so IS, that is intermediate system to intermediate system. So in this particular intermediate system to intermediate, there is no end point. So from one intermediate to another intermediate, how we are going to send the data. So and then OSPF, when you are talking about open shortest path first. Okay, so when the routing is been done, when we are transferring the data, it is a quite common thing that, so wherever the shortest path is there, we need to take it. And later we are going for the border gateway protocol, that is BGP. So these are the different internet protocol where we can use this particular what you call for that, all these particular protocols can be used in the internet protocol. Okay, it is for the signaling protocols and multi-protocol labeling. And when you're talking about the different implementation schemes for IP over WDM or DWDM, so we can see that okay, so when you're talking about this one DWDM, WDM when you're using, so WDM, so here you can use that IP, that is internet protocol asynchronous transfer mode. Okay, so it we can use WDM, we can use. And the next scheme is what when you're using the DWDM, we can use internet protocol and SONET. Okay, SONET, which is in thin layer, we can use for DWDM. or else we can directly use for IP, that is DWDM, we can able to use it. So 3 generic stages for deployment of optical IP networks are shown in the figure above. So in the first generation, we used the ATM to carry the IP packets, and it has proved not to be efficient technique as compared to the direct use of SDH and SONET. So that is why in second generation we removed the ATM. Okay, so once we remove the ATM, this is because the overhead requirements for ATM cell structure higher together with the inherent overlap of IP packets which map significantly outside the ATM cell size. After that, we can say that therefore the service providers are considering running IP content directly to the over. Okay, so in the second generation, we can directly send the signal to the SONET directly without using the what you call the ATM. So in order to carry the IP packets, however, the mapping of IP packets directly to the SONET frames is required, and as a resultant technique, we referred as a packet over SONET. It is a thin SONET we can able to understand. So this mapping of IP frames can be accomplished in 3 stages. In first stage, the data is segmented into IP packets, so which are then encapsulated via the point-to-point protocol. So the framing information is then added in the second stage, and then finally in the third stage, the resultant data is mapped synchronously on the SDH and SONET frame. So that is about the first thing. So second stage, when you're talking about the 3 tiers comprising IP and a thin layer of SDH, that is thin layer of SONET and dense WDM. So your ongoing IP revolution suggests that SDH or SONET is not bandwidth efficient for IP packet transport. So that is one of the major drawback in the second stage. So in the first stage, after first stage to the second stage, we removed the ATM. So after that, what exactly we did, we used the SONET in the thin SONET, but the bandwidth is not sufficient. So since this particular bandwidth is not sufficient, thus a thin SONET layer is still present in the second stage. So we switch over from the WDM to DWDM at the physical layer. So later case, what we did is we consider the most useful IP. It will be most useful if the IP can be directly mapped onto the DWDM. So that is why in the third stage, removal of ATM and SONET layers, the IP protocol over the DWDM is possible due to the increasing of sophistication of the optical and photonic enabling technologies. So hence, in the third stage, we can say that the deployment of IP optical network is expected to incorporate optical or photonic switching. See, it is not directly you can use the IP, so we can use like by improving some of the features. So a realization of IP running directly on the DWDM physical layer has become an important goal in the optical networking. So implementation schemes for IP over DWDM and further deployment of IP over OTN are illustrated in the next figure. So this is the diagram. We can able to see this one. So your IP over a point-to-point WDM network employing an optoelectronic conversions at these edges for IP routing in the shown in the figure. Okay, figure above. So you can see the WDM. So your optical enabler is E/O/E/O conversion, that is optical to electrical and electrical to optical conversions will be there. Okay, so after that, so we are going to use that IP router. So it will route the content. Then we can go for the once again the optical to electrical and electrical to optical conversion, and we can use the WDM concept. So that is in the figure number A, that is WDM network employing an optoelectrical conversions at the edges of IP. But in the figure B, so we can see that the most of the traffic processed by the router in transit traffic as indicated. So the transit IP if you are using, okay, So here what exactly happened in this case, the routers are directly interconnected with high capacity point-to-point WDM links, since the entire traffic is processed in the router. At the packet level, after converting the optical signal to the electronic domain and extracting the packet from the signal stream. So in order to achieve this particular criteria, so we can use the transit IP protocol. So there we need not to route it, but directly it will go. Okay, that is what is explained in the figure number B. So same figure, we are going to use it, but we are going to use the transit IP. Okay, so here IP over WDM architecture utilizes the high capacity of the router, so requiring high throughput and thus power consuming routers. So even though handling the transit traffic in a router at the packet level allows improved filling of the optical links due to the statistical multiplexing, so it increases the average delay and packet loss. These are some of the advantages when we do this particular process. So here our next topic when we're talking about is Internet Protocol over OTN. So the traffic which passes through a node without termination can be either a switched an optical cross connect without optical conversion or to be forwarded by a router at the packet level after EO conversion, that is electrical to optical conversion, that can be shown in the figure below. So in the figure below you can able to see that. Okay. So you can see that the WDM is there. So we are going to use the OXA also. So here local access IP router, same everything will be there. Optical to electrical and electrical to optical conversion also will be there. So when you are using the DWDM instead of WDM, when you are using the DWDM, so you are using the optical cross connect also. So when you are using the optical cross connect, okay, so if it is required to convert a signal, we can use it. So if it need not to convert any signal, we can directly optical bypass is there. So that you can see in the figure number D. So optical bypass, I can just see that. Okay, so it will bypass everything and it will directly go from starting to ending. So once again, in the previously we discussed the transit IP. So that is also one of the provision. It will go to the IP router by using a transit IP and it will come back to the destination. So that particular explanation functionality, some of the features have been discussed in this particular study. You can go through it. And the figure number E, okay, so you can see that local access. So here local access, same thing, DWDM. So here instead along with the cross connect, there is an optical packet or burst switch is there. So that is also one of the possibility. Okay, so an advanced version of IP over optical switches where the packets are switched in all optical domain. So using either a optical packet switches or optical burst switches has also been explored. So from the beginning, the diagram A to diagram E, if you are seeing, there is a improvement. Okay, there is a improvement in the all devices and functionalities also. So initially there was no optical cross connect, so there is no transit. Second stage, transit has come. Third stage, optical cross connect has come. The fourth stage, we can bypass that particular thing and we can include the transit also, it has come. Now in the fifth stage, you can see that the optical packet burst or optical packet or burst switch is also included. Okay, that is one of the best thing which is available. So these are some of the functionality, some of this one it is there. So now we can see that wavelength routing network. So at this particular point, I'll just stop the class. Okay.